This afternoon we investigated food systems, essentially looking at what are they and particularly the sustainability of food systems. So there was a whole panel who gave their expert opinions, from the retailers to the producers to the people who in fact eat the food, across livestock, vegetables, as well as commodities like grain. And what came out of our panel session this afternoon was that in the olden days, well, maybe a little bit older than me, in those olden days we would have seen sustainability as a very sort of clearly defined area of interest. Sustainability usually meant something to do with the environment. Nowadays it seems to have got far more complex. Not only are we looking at the environment and the natural resources of the environment, we're obviously worried about the people, our communities, and in the context of the food system, we're obviously worried about how much food costs. Is the food available? Is it affordable? Is it safe? And is it nutritious? The challenge always is, in terms of the food system in our country, is that those people who are employed have jobs and who are able to go to the retailers that we all know. So they're able to then be assured that whatever they're buying is of the correct safety. They've considered things like animal welfare and biodiversity, etc. But for the people who don't have and are not employed in our economy, they then obviously are having to rely on staples. So it might be maize, maize that forms a staple for most people in our country every single day. Hopefully some of them are able to have chickens where they can produce eggs, a really good cheap source of protein. And alternatively, my passion of course is making sure that we are able to get people growing what they need in their gardens. It doesn't matter whether someone lives in a township or whether somebody lives in a rural area. The best way to make sure you're getting your fresh veggies every day is to be able to grow some spinaches. Don't worry about cabbage. Some spinaches, you can grow lettuce, you can grow herbs, you can grow a whole range of things that effectively, beyond just buying the seeds, can actually cost you nothing, and you can then dicky up whatever you need, your food at home with your fresh vegetables, and get the nutrients that you need, of course, to be more healthy than you are without them. So again, I think this year has been quite special, not only because of the 120 years, because if you look at most organizations nowadays, to have lasted 120 years is truly remarkable in every possible way. And so if you look at the purpose of the Congress was really to bring in a whole lot of different people in that agricultural value chain. Obviously this afternoon my little group focused on the food system, but when you look across that value chain, there's so many different ways that we should be collaborating and partnering. So for example, this afternoon, a young farmer from the Eastern Cape raised the issue about his two-toothed sheep and about the way that the animals are being graded when they get to the abattoir, etc., or to the feeding lot, whatever it might be. So there was a discussion about what has been done to address this, the certification or the system that they're going to be using, and an ability then to get the young guy involved with the researchers, because so often you find that regulations end up being scientifically based, absolutely fine on paper, much like sustainability standards, but when you get to the poor fellow on the ground who's growing the food, the vegetable, or he's growing the animal, or he might be doing some horticulture, all of a sudden those standards are so out of sync with what he's doing that it becomes impossible to achieve. So when you're able to go back to these kind of dialogues, farmers said, I'm happy to collaborate with the man who's going to be managing the scientists, and in that way you build really nice, robust systems that can work for the producer, because they're my passion. So it has to work for the producer. It's got to be affordable, it's got to be practical, but at the same time, the game is changing. If you're going to go, for example, into the EU markets, they're looking at a whole lot of new standards, traceability, things like that we will need to follow. But just as importantly, if I'm going to go into one of our retailers to buy anything, I also need to know that everything has been taken, that care has been taken, pesticides, herbicides have been reduced, and that what I'm buying then is also safe, healthy and affordable. I think that I wouldn't have remained, or I wouldn't be in agriculture if I didn't feel like agriculture is the center of all universes. You know, so if you think about food, each one of us has to eat every day. Some of us can obviously eat 3 times a day, others only once or twice a day. But at the end of the day, agriculture, not only does it offer and boost a huge economy, it brings in GDP, but we need it every single day.